Hey everybody. Well, I got a little project going today. As you can see, I got the old convertible opened up back here. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I've had this car several months. I bought it last summer, and just kind of on a whim. It was just dirt cheap, so I thought I'd go ahead and pick it up and play around with it a little bit. This thing has ran really poorly the whole time I've had it. I've actually not even driven it on the highway. It's just run so bad. It just hard to start when it was hot. It seemed like it was flooding, and had a power loss light on and things like that. It just had some clues going on with it that just led me to believe it had problems, like engine management problems, computer problems. You can kind of see the little smudge right there where it's been running it. So I've been waiting. I don't spend any good money on stuff like this. I've been waiting till the pull apart got a car in that had a computer and another injector on it, and finally picked one of those up this weekend, because that's what I initially thought was going wrong with it. It's just got it's a TBI injected engine. You can see it just got one, kind of hard to see there, but it's got a single injector in it. And so that's the one that was in it. I've already replaced this once with a bad one. I didn't know it was bad when I bought it, but it was. So I replaced that, put a good new injector in it out of the same year car that I found at the junkyard. And also, as you can see over here, in this pile of junk, I've got another computer, which this is actually a remanufactured computer that I picked off a car down there. And so I swapped the injector out, and then I also swapped out this computer temporarily, which it goes right here. It's actually part of the airstream on these cars. It's got that duct that goes to the air cleaner. It keeps it cool because it's got some transistors and things in it. So I did all that. It wasn't too hard, but got it done, and it didn't run any better at all. Just same stuff. Power loss lights on. Just loping, and just doesn't sound good, So I decided to get serious about this thing and just dig into it and find out what's going on with it for once and for all. So the first thing I did was I pulled the codes off the power loss light, which in these is right, you can see it or not. Where is it? Well, it lights up right there. So on these era cars, these Chryslers, to pull the codes out of them, get it to blink the codes, you just turn the key on and off 3 times in rapid succession within, like, I think it's 10 seconds, something like that, 5 seconds. So it kept spitting out a code 22 and a code 24, which code 22 means no coolant temperature signal, or the coolant temperature signal is out of range. That's it right there. You can see I've already replaced that because I had that code to begin with. I replaced it sometime back. So 24 is the throttle position sensor circuit. It's out of range. So basically that means that it was getting bad signals from both these. Throttle position sensors on the side of the throttle body, coolant temperature is right there, and then it comes, I'll explain more about that in a minute, but anyway, so I pulled the battery off, cleared the codes out, and tried it again and got the same codes again, so they were repeating. And I knew I was on to something, because when these things get a bad coolant temperature sensor signal, they run the fan automatically. And that's what was happening. The fan, every time I turned the key on, the fan would run. So what I did was, before I just went and replaced another coolant temperature sensor, I checked the wiring all the way through. I measured, make sure it wasn't grounded, all the way up through. It's got a connector right there, and then it ends up in this connector here, which goes into the logic module. Well, this is, no, not this connector, it's actually this one there. This thing's got 2 connectors on it. This is actually what they call the power control module. There's 2, but this is the power control module. And so anyway, I established that my wiring was not at fault, didn't have a problem there. And of course, since I've tried another computer with no changes, it's pretty safe to say this computer is not the problem either. So anyway, I've just basically narrowed it down to either there's been another bad sensor, which I thought was unlikely, or just maybe the wiring was just ratty and loose. And I think it's the wiring, because actually when I put all this back together and had this connector there apart and back together several times, it stopped. The fan stopped coming on, and the power loss light stopped coming on also when I turned the key on. I didn't try to crank it because I've got some other things apart over here, but so I may have managed to solve that issue, hopefully. If not, I'll have to just go ahead and get another sensor. But here's the more interesting part, and I'll try to condense this because I'm going to be running out of time. But this is the plug here, as you can see, for the throttle position sensor. And on the back here, you got 3 wires. And make it short and sweet. This wire is a 5-volt reference, means it gets 5 volts from the logic module, which is in there. And this middle wire is a return to the logic module, which is, like I said, in there. And this is a ground. So I got digging into this. I measured my voltage. First thing I did is I tried measuring my voltage to make sure I was getting the 5 volts to the throttle position sensor down there, and I wasn't. I was getting like 2 point something volt or 0.20. I don't know. It was some crazy reading. It was nowhere near what it was supposed to be. So next thing I did is I went ahead and well, you know, there wasn't any need to check further, because that's obviously not good. Something's wrong there, because you're supposed to get 5 volts, and then as that thing opens up, it sends a varying voltage reading back through that center wire to the logic module, telling the logic module how far the throttle's open. So to put it, you know, kind of bluntly, something's screwed up with it. It's not getting the full 5 volts, so that's what was tripping the code for the throttle position sensor. So I finally figured out where the wiring for this led to. It did not go to that power control module over there. It goes in here. This thing is called a logic module. It's got 2 connectors on it, and there's a reason for that. It's to do with the heat and all like that, but why this is in here and that one is out there. But the next test I ran on this, I thought, well, I'm probably on to something here. So I want to fault isolate my wiring between the two to make sure that I just didn't have a ground situation somewhere. Because, well, actually, I got ahead of myself. After I figured out I wasn't getting the right voltage to that connector from the computer in there, what I did was I did a ohm test to see if any of those wires besides the ground wire showed to be grounded, which they shouldn't be. And sure enough, the supply wire and the reference wire both had showing some partial grounding. So I came in here and dug this thing out of here and got the connector off of it, and that solved that problem. So no more partial grounding in it. So what I think is wrong with this is that this logic module is bad. I think that's what's been causing part or all of the problems, at least with the TPS. So I ain't gonna buy a new one. I'm just gonna go back to the junkyard and get one out of that car I got the injector out of. It's an 86. You have to get one for 86 or 87 only, and I'll go from there. Get it back together and get a new part in it, and we'll see how it runs, and maybe we've solved the problem and get this thing to run better. See ya.